Happy Friday, everyone. And it's a hot one out there today in the southwest Iowa area, and we're watching our corn crop wither a bit. It's been a bit of a disaster this year. You kind of go from borderline where you think you can't take any more of the drought that we're seem to be getting to boom, you get an inch of rain. And then you think it's going to start raining again, then it quits. So it seems to be a repeated cycle. But the corn, it has hit the nitrogen level or in the ground, and it's getting the roots out, and they're deep. So it's amazing what it is with withstanding. But we're about 104 heat index here today, and we got wind, so it's sapping the soil fairly quickly. But we got 7,200 on the baler and baling up these oats, and definitely oats like nitrogen, and definitely where the nitrogen was applied to the half of this field that went to these oats this spring is significantly better. The baler, getting a few things worked out on it yet, but it's working pretty well. But what I was going to call today's video was, where did our prices go? And this is a little bit hand in hand with what we're seeing here as of this year, where prices are not great, and we have a bit of a drought tolerant pressure coming in this year. Now, a couple of years ago, or a handful of years ago, I should say, we had a guy from the USDA department, and I'm going to call him a government agronomist. He showed up to our doorstep. Basically, he explained that the USDA or Washington, they'll basically shotgun out GPS coordinates. And it's no different than if you took a bunch of darts and threw them at a board of the United States or corn crop growing areas, crop production areas in the United States. And this guy's one of many who works for this department, and he would go out and he would find those GPS coordinates, and then he would fence them off, and usually those were basically like a 10 by 10 square. So for example, he might show up to your doorstep, and it might be right here in front of the tractor. It'd be a 10 by 10 square in this particular field. Like I say, it's no different than a dart. Well, our farm had a random spot on it, a corn beans rotation farm. They had a random spot on it. They got hit by one of these proverbial darts. So he would, obviously being just a good person, stop by to tell us he was going to be there and give us some free updates on things. But as I began to realize here relatively quickly, this guy basically goes out, checks your crop. He can tell how the crop's doing, what the yield potentials are, how it's withstanding the drought, all the tolerances and everything. And there's other guys doing it, more spots. He's got more spots. I mean, they compile all this data, and the federal government basically knows exactly what kind of a crop you're going to have prior to it being harvested. It's very easy when you do a system like that to form an algorithm and an overall average, and it'll let you know what's out there. Well, that's just pretty damn wrong. But talk about taking the risk of it. As far as I'm concerned, they should just guess like everybody else does, taking your tax dollar money to employ a guy to come out there to compile data that ultimately only works against you is just kind of screwed up. But the government gets these reports, and then, as most people know, there's a huge revolving door between the big grain companies, and there's insider trading on commodities, and politicians and USDA department and everything. It's a damn mess, and it's a rant I could get into for an hour and a half. So I don't have enough video to get into all of it right now. But bottom line is, your commercial traders are going to make a lot of money, and your people in Washington are going to see to it that food stays cheap, and farmers, we'll use the term, we're not even farmers anymore, we're producers, stay doing it for next to nothing. And price manipulation at its finest. Well, a few years ago when we had $7 corn, like many farmers, you know, guys bought new machinery and did things, and there was a economic boom. Well, they said, oh, it was based on ethanol. Well, the truth was ethanol was a speculatory substance that basically fueled this speculation. Well, there never was anything there. It was just nothing more than like it is right now in the stock market. It's pure speculation, and it's basically an overly inflated nothingness. And it doesn't take a whole lot of rumblings to either sink or you know, feast in one of these deals. The CEO of Caterpillar ran his mouth there a few weeks ago, and he says, well, we hit our high water mark for the year, and even though their second quarter, or I think it's second, or maybe it's third, but you know, their next quarter was going to come out and look probably equally as good on paper, they made it the perception to be that it won't be there. You know, we've already hit our high point of the year, and boom, there goes the Dow. So back a handful of years ago, if we'd have known as farmers, you know, how much real false propaganda was being out there, and what kind of speculation was really, you know, taking place, if we'd had some of that insider information, you know, on a personal note, I'd have probably never bought even a third of the machinery we did, or even done even a couple of the updates we did. I probably would have, you know, of course, you about can't stockpile cash, but you hope that a market is based on ethanol at the time, and you hope that there would be some future of agriculture. Well, it turned out there was just a lot of greed and everything else, and typical flash in the pan type deal where markets blew up for a little bit, then it turns around and drops way back off, which is what we're seeing right now. And at $3 corn, and I don't even know what's keeping it $3. It could be $2.95 this fall. And if we continue to get a drought, you know, it's not looking too hot. I don't know how the hell you could possibly have 170 bushel corn or 160, and for that fact, if it gets a bad drought, we could have 135 bushel corn and $2.95. I mean, that does not work. Not when combines are $450,000. So, tough road ahead, I think, for agricultural producers. I think it's going to be quite a while till there's something else into the water to where it allows people to have the next thing where they actually go out and you know, have that big boom like there was during the ethanol. But I know I'll warn my kids and definitely take precautionary measures, you know, next time. I know Dad went through the 70s. You get a few things like this in a lifetime, man, a guy gets pretty cautious of what's out there. But I will say, guys that came out to our farm, or the guy that came out to our farm to do that on-site, what's this called, on-site surveying, which gave his USDA reports, those kind of things don't help us. You know, those are working against us. And you know, best thing, I remember when he took a couple week hiatus because he had that government shutdown a couple years ago, and that's when he was doing our farm, and he was so upset because he felt his job was quite important. Well, good, should have stayed shut down and never reopened. Well, I thoroughly enjoy being a producer for many people's dinner tables, and you know, like many other farmers, there's a lot of struggles and everything to farming, and you know, we're going to be out here working the long hours and doing it because it's a way of the land. But it would also be nice if you could make a little better income or a little better living out of it. Let's face it, how many other people in this state, or even my local area here, I know a hell of a lot of them. It's 8 till 3 and you're off on the weekend as well. They wouldn't make much for farmers when you're, you know, I mean, I've worked so many 8 to 8s, 7 days a week. It isn't even funny. I mean, that's a short pay. So you would think, you know, what you're getting out of it for an income at the end of the year, you know, for the hours you're putting into it, you're probably at minimum wage, if even that. Well, thank you to everyone who weighed in on the other videos here the past few days. I know I did one about war with these kids in school, and I got so many more things to talk about, including that in more detail. It is great to hear that there's still a handful of people out there that think like I do, and honestly, you kind of see that in the voters. When you go and you start to see guys like Ron Paul or these more independent, anti-government people, they maintain about 12%. Well, I was reading the other day that nationwide, between farmers, which is barely 1%, and independent people like contractors and stuff, which are also suffering all this, nationwide you're talking 15%. Well, 15% doesn't carry the bill for the rest of the population. So it's nice to see that there's still a few people out there that can vote, but unfortunately we're a losing masses. But good to talk to a handful of you, and I hope everybody just keeps on voting, and I hope that 12% continues to grow and pushes others to vote, and maybe someday this country will have a chance where we get a politician that actually wants to turn things around. I kind of had some hope that Trump would do that, but as far as on the farm side, he hasn't done anything very good for us. These tariffs, they're gonna hurt us. So I see why he has points of them, but they're not going to do us any good. So I do support Trump, but then again, I'm not real wild at how he's killing our agricultural markets. And on a personal note, I am a independent. I do not usually vote on any party lines, and half the time I vote independent or even vote libertarian. Sometimes those guys in the ballot there you never even heard of, you just start to Google them, and they're some of your best candidates, but they don't have a chance. Kind of sad. Well, anyway, I got lots of projects going on. There'll be a lot of video making, and again, thank you everybody that weighed in on everything else, and I hope everybody continues to keep doing that, and I appreciate all the new subscribers. I noticed there's been quite a few since I started doing these more daily videos, and thank you to everyone that has hit that subscribe button. I hope that continues, and it helps a lot, and I appreciate it. So, well, have a good one, everybody, and I'll see you on the next video.